a proper shape. After making 3 chain, make this first scalp and complete it. The easiest way to make this scalp is grab this DC in which you are going to work and then start 5 DCs in it. So this way our next row is completed. Now we will make 6 after making these 6 scalps, we will make 5 scalps. So we will make our first V here on this DC 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So we will make our next scalps on these 5 DCs, and in between them we will make 1 DC. Making foundation for the next row, we will make 2 chain and 1 DC in this middle of the scalp, then 1 chain and 2 DC on this DC. One DC here, 1 chain and 2 DC. And we will end 1 chain and a DC here in this middle of the last scalp. So this is how our foundation row is completed. So yarn over and make a DC in this first V stitch of this DC, like this FPDC, and complete 5 DCs here. After making this last scalp, make a slip stitch here in this DC. And let's make next foundation row. In this 7th row we are making 6 scalps. So turn your project and see here 6 DCs are available. We are making V stitches on these 6 DC, and by making 1 chain we will make 1 DC in this middle of the previous scalp. So let's start. Turn your project and make 3 chain and a DC in the first DC, and then 1 chain and 1 DC in this middle of the scalp, and we will complete this row by making all the 2 DCs and 1 DC like previous I have told you. In this last DC we will make 2 DC and complete this foundation row for the 7th row of the scalp. 3 chain and 5 DCs. So 3 chain and 4 DC makes 5, 1 chain, and now grab this DC to work in. So likewise we have to complete all these V spaces with the scale. Have you noticed one thing, that when we are working in these scales, we are making like FPDC, and this is the right side of the DC, which is now back side of the scale. So our scale is from the wrong side, it is visible. The right side is here under the scale. In the 8th row we'll make 5 scales. So we have 5 DCs here, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So we will start by making 2 chain and 1 DC in this middle of the scale, and then 2 DCs here. So let's start. After making 2 chain, 1 DC in the middle of the scale, then 1 chain and 2 DC on this DC. So we will make a 1 DC here, 2 DC, 1 DC, 2 DC, 1 DC, 2 DC, 1 DC and 2 DC, and in this middle of the scale 1 DC, and we will complete our foundation row like this. The foundation row of the 8th scale row is completed now. So let's start making scales in these V's. Turn your project and make 3 chains and insert yarn over and insert in the first V. And make here 5 DCs. Make 1 chain and turn your project left to little bit right and grab this next stitch and make 5 DC in it. Make here 5 DCs. Complete same way this row also. In this next row we'll make 4 scales, after that 3, and then 3 times 2. This is very dark actually. Okay. So let's make 4. In this foundation row, we will make that V stitch by skipping this first DC and last DC, and we'll make four scales on these four DCs. So 2 stitches here, 2 here, 2 here and 2 here. This is how we will complete this row, and we will start with 2 chain and a single DC in this middle of the first scale, and then we will start here 2 DC. So we will skip this DC and in this last also. So turn your project, make 2 chain and a DC in this, skip this DC and make a DC in the middle of the scale. So we are not working on this first DC, we will make only 2 chain here. One chain and 2 DC. One chain and 1 DC in the middle of the scale. Chain and 2 DC. So here we will make 2 DC, 1 DC, 2 DC, and in the end I will make 2 chain only. So in this last DC we will join with 2 chain only, just like we made in this first starting part of this row. So after making 2 chain we will join here. And now we'll turn our project and make scales in this V. We are making 3 chain and DC, yarn over and 5 DCs in this first V, and chain 1 and 5 DC in the next DC. Yeah. So let's start. Sorry, we will make 3 chain as a first DC. And then second DC. Likewise complete 5. After making these 4 scales, make 2 chains and join here in this DC of the previous row scales, and there is DC near this scale. We have to join this in here, a single crochet near that DC, in that chain space, last chain space. Like this. In this next row we are making 3 scales. For that we'll make 2 chain, and after making 2 chains we skip this DC and we will work only these 3 DCs. So skip first DC, make only 3 chains up to there and start working. After making 2 chain, we'll make single crochet here. Again we'll make 2 chain and a DC here. Chain and 2 DC in this stitch. So 2 DC, chain 1, a DC in the middle of the scale, chain 1, 2 DCs, chain 1, DC in the middle of the scale, so we have created 2 spaces. Now chain 1 and 2 DC, and then chain 1, chain 1, and we will make a single crochet in this last. Make 3 chain and start first scale of this row. One chain and the next half of this scale. Slip stitch in the next DC and complete these 2 scales also to complete this row. After making these 3 scales, we will make 2 scales, 2 scales and 2 scales, all these last 3 rows. So for that we will make 2 chain and turn the project and make a DC in this, 1 DC in the middle of the scale, then 2 DC here and 2 DC here, and thus we will complete our foundation row. Two DCs in the same stitch, one chain, 1 DC, 1 chain and 2 DC in the same. So one chain, one DC in the middle of the scale, then one chain, and make a single crochet here in this last. We are giving a circular shape here. Make a chain and single crochet here, and then start 3 chain and a DC, 5 DCs in this to make this scale. So after making this 5th DC, we will join a single crochet here in this DC, on this head of the DC. From this row we will make scale on scale. The next row, the next scale will come on this scale only. So we will make 2 chain and 2 DCs in this middle of the scale. One chain and one DC on DC here, and then one chain and 2 DC in this middle of the scale. Chain 1 and join here a single crochet. So we have 2 spaces to make a scale. We are making scale on scale here. 3 chain and start DC in this. So we are making 5 DCs here. So slip stitch here in this DC and start another scale in these 2 stitches. In this last 2 scales, turn your project, 2 chain and make 2 DC in this middle of the previous scale. Again 1 chain and 2 DC here in the middle of the next scale. So after these 2 DCs we will make 2 chain and we'll make 2 DC in this middle of the scale. So make 2 chain and 2 DC. 1 chain and a single crochet in this last stitch. Now turn the project, make 3 chain and 4 DCs to complete this scale. After completing this scale, we'll make slip stitch here in this 2 chain space, and then let's start next scale. We are making 5 DCs in this space. this fifth DC completed. Now we will make a single crochet or slip stitch here and finish it. Slip stitch and cut the thread. So this way we have completed the body part.